Hello and welcome to this presentation on the Ishavasya Upanishad or the Isha Upanishad as it is also called. I'm Ashay Naik and I will be discussing here the Upodghata, that is the introductory section of Shankara's commentary on the Ishavasya Upanishad. The title in large font reads Ishavasya Upanishad and the subtitle says Srimad Shankaracharya Virachita Bhashyayuta, which means along with the commentary or bhashya composed by Srimad Shankaracharya. The Upodghata begins as follows. Ishavasyam ityadayo mantraha karmasu aviniyuktaha tesham akarmasheshasya atmano yathatmya prakashakatvat. Now, Ishavasyam ityadayo mantraha means the mantras beginning with the phrase Ishavasyam. That is, Shankara is referring to all the verses in the Isha Upanishad. And he says that they are karmasu aviniyuktaha. That is, they are not assigned for use in karmas. Here, karmas refer to the Vedic rituals such as the yajna. Viniyukta, formed by adding the upasargas vi and ni to yukta, means being assigned, and aviniyukta means being unassigned. That is, these mantras are not to be used in the performance of Vedic rituals. But why not? Because he says, Tesham akarmasheshasya atmano yathatmya prakashakatvat. Because they illuminate, they reveal the Yathatmya. Yathatmya is derived from the words Yatha Atman, which literally means just as something is by itself. All knowledge is mediated by the senses, while Yathatmya refers to the knowledge of the thing unmediated by the senses, and therefore it is the knowledge of the thing in itself. But whose Yathatmya? The Yathatmya of the Atman, that is the self. Note the play on words here, Atmano Yathatmyam, the knowledge of the self as it exists in itself. Now, the self here means the ordinary self that is evident to all of us as the I or ego consciousness. As self-conscious beings, we are all of us aware of a self that we use in sentences like, I am a man, or this is my car. Shankar is saying that these mantras illuminate the yathatmya of the self that is ordinarily perceived as such, as a cluster of worldly identities. Now going back to the splitting of yathatmya as yatha and atman, the word Atman, when it occurs at the end of a compound, as it does in the word Yathatmya, generally means essential nature, so that Yathatmya can mean according to its essential nature. So to summarize what we have covered so far, Ishavasyam ityadayo mantraha karmasu aviniyuktaha Tesham Atmano Yathatmya Prakashakatvat means the mantras beginning with Ishavasyam are not assigned to the performance of Vedic rituals because they reveal the essential nature of the self. And now for the remaining and the most important word in this sentence, Akarmasheshasya, which qualifies the Atman. The mantras are not irrelevant to ritual simply because they reveal the essential nature of the self, but because they reveal the essential nature of the self which is akarmasheshaha. This is a bahuvrihi or a possessive compound. It means one who has no actions remaining, that is, one who does not possess residual action. Our ordinary understanding of the self, on the other hand, is that of a being possessing residual actions. All of us say that we have actions yet to be performed. I have things to do tomorrow, a week later, in a few months, in a few years, and so on. As Robert Frost famously said, I have miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. This is karmasheshata, the state of being possessed with actions yet to be performed. The real nature of the Atman, its yathatmya, on the other hand, Shankar claims, is akarmashesha. Since the mantras reveal that the essential nature of the self is one who has no karma remaining, they cannot be employed in the performance of karma. This is Shankar's point. But there is more to it. Usually, sentences in the Vedas which are not directly applicable to ritual are termed as arthavada in Mimamsa and the Dharmashastras. This term is generally translated as commendatory, hortatory, etc., but what it means basically is that they are not primarily significant. Since the Vedas were regarded as injunctive texts, that is, texts which enjoin actions, any sentence they contained which did not carry a prescriptive force was downgraded to Arthavada. Mantras, on the other hand, were valuable because they were understood as being prakashaka, that is, capable of illuminating some aspect of the ritual, and were therefore employed in the process. From this perspective, the statements in the Ishavasyam and other Upanishads would be dismissed as Arthavada since they are not injunctive by nature, that is, they do not prescribe any action. And I think Shankar is responding precisely to this interpretive posture in referring to them as mantras, even if they are not to be employed in ritual. These are mantras and not just Arthavada, because they too are Prakashaka. They carry the power of illumination as well. Only it is not some aspect of ritual that they illuminate, but the Yathatmya, the essential nature of the self as transcendent of all actions. But what is the Yathatmya of the Atman? He says, Yathatmyam cha atmanah shuddhatva apapaviddhatva ekatva nityatva ashariratva sarvagatattvadi vakshamanam. Vakshamanam is the future participle which means it will be stated later on. That is, the Yathatmya of the Atman will be explained further by the mantras of the Isha Upanishad. But Shankar already gives us a hint as to what they will say, that the essential nature of the Atman is Shuddha, pure, unsullied. It is Apapaviddha, not pierced by, not afflicted by sin. It is Eka, one only without another. That is, what I conceive of as myself, what you conceive of as yourself, and what each one of us conceives of as oneself are ultimately one being. It is Nitya, eternal. It is Asharira, disembodied. It is Sarvagata, omnipresent, all pervasive. Taccha karmana virudhyate. But that is opposed to karma. Indeed, if the Atman is really of such a nature, then it simply cannot engage in any action. For all engagement in action presupposes a self-understanding that is contradictory to such a view. We act because we realize ourselves to be different from each other and the world, because we think that we are embodied beings, because we think that we are transient creatures. On the other hand, if we were to realize the true nature of the self, then there would not remain any desire to act. Therefore Shankar says, Iti yukta eva esham karmasu aviniyogah. Thus it is only appropriate, it is only sensible that these mantras cannot be employed in karma.